Yes, we're going to present the truth in a way that we try not to offend people. This is the whole point of being wise. We're not supposed to be stupid, like the world has opened their mouths and anything just comes out. No, we're supposed to be wise. We're supposed to contemplate things. How best to put things in a light that is acceptable to others. And if they don't accept it, then that's not our fault. As simple as that. Alright? Now, for instance, I was out in Birmingham city centre some time ago. And I saw this Islamic tent and they were selling Islam. Alright? And I went up, I thought, well, okay, I'll just go and ask them a question, okay? I didn't rant and rave at them, I just went and asked a question. Okay? This is an example. I went to them and I said, I felt like saying, is my mum in? You know, imam. But anyhow, I stood there and I asked this fella, I said, tell me something. What did Islam do in the Middle Ages? What's the history of Islam for the Middle Ages? Could you tell me? I'm interested. I don't know, he says, I don't know. I said, you don't know, but the Christians know. How come you don't know the part that you played in the Middle Ages and the Christians do? And I just posed it as a question as I'm talking to you now. Oh, I'll get the teacher. Oh, right. And this fella came in white garb. And I said, the same. And he said, oh, I don't know. I said, well, you're very poor, aren't you? Because the Christians know. So aren't the Christians better than you because they know their history? When you don't? And then he said something else. Oh yeah, he said, oh, come in here. I said, excuse me? Come in here. I said, no. If you can't openly say to me now in the open air, your part, what's the purpose in going here? Then I backed off. And I gave a distance of about 8 foot and I shouted the question again. This is in the open air. Shouted the question again. And I pointed out to the people, these people here don't know their own history. Christianity does, so who's the best religion? And surprisingly, I got an applause. Some strange reason. But, yeah, you know, we go at it like that. You know, we always ask the question. Ask the pointed question. Have the other side to answer it. And when they can't answer it, just keep on with the question. Just keep on with it. They'll try and sidestep you. This fellow wanted me, to come back at the tent so he could have a go at me. Oh no, you see, that's wisdom. Stupidity would have said, oh yeah, I'll come with you. Yeah, oh yeah. No, that's naivety, stupidity. That isn't being wise. We have to be wise as much as possible that lieth within us. We're not always alert. But we should train ourselves to be alert, to watch out, keep our eyes open. Keep our eyes open. Always keep our eyes open as much as possible. And remember that Christ hid himself. He didn't invite animosity. Animosity came to him. And of course there are those times that one has to openly stand up and rebuke. Okay, this does not disallow here, being serpents and doves, this does not disallow the righteous anger of a righteous person against unrighteousness. There are times that we stand up and we say, right, you've done that, and you rebuke them as sternly as Christ rebuked the Pharisees. There is a balance and a just weight that we should own. A time when we should be subtle and wise. And even within that, the wisdom should dictate to us when we should rebuke somebody else. But generally, when we're rebuking somebody else, it's because of the heinousness of their crime. And we rebuke them and say, God will have you. And God is over your conscience. And he will open your conscience. And he will attack you for your conscience. And he will attack you for your life. And you think that God doesn't exist, even though your conscience tells you he exists. He will open your conscience. And you will wish for the rocks and the mountains to fall on you, to hide you. You will be tormented. In the very day that God appoints of himself to deal with you. And this comes out also here. Okay, let us carry on. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Aye, ravening wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils. Beware of men. Oh, your best mate. St. Bartholomew's Massacre? Hello, Harry. Hello, Bert. A few hours later, Harry's murdering Bert. They will deliver you up to councils and they will scourge you in their synagogues. Who was the first person here in this beginning of the New Testament who suffered, who were delivered up by men? But Jesus Christ. He was delivered up into the synagogue, scourged. By men. He fed and taught thousands, and they delivered him up. Do you think you're going to be, or we're going to be, any different? If they persecuted Christ in that way and he fed them food and he fed them wisdom, good education, he benefited the world, and what did the world do? Turn around and crucified him. Do you think we're going to get any better? No. Who led it all? Come on. Who led all this persecution? Who continues to lead all this persecution? Those in authority. And who puts their hand first? Hey? The pseudo-Christianity side of things. Here, the pseudo-followers of God. The Jews. With their monotheistic religion. They crucified Christ as much as our sins crucified Christ as a secondary thing. But they rejected him even in the inn. Get out! There's no room in the inn. They knew Christ was with Mary. They knew that child was not of this world. So they rejected him. We're dealing with two worlds of physical, which these things are in, this body's in, this table's in, the whole thing around us is in. This is the physical world, and we're dealing with the spiritual world. And the spiritual world knows and informs men. And they could see, every last one of them in that inn, that this child was not one of their own, not one that belonged to this world. If Mary had been bearing a normal child, everybody would have fallen over backwards. You can have my room, you can have mine, no, you can have mine. You can have mine. Hey, they'd have done that. But no, Christ was rejected from the very, very beginning. And you know something that's sad about this is that the spiritual side of things has been lost today. Arminianism has well done its job and continues to do its job in secularizing things, making carnal minds to be even more carnal, if that were so, if that could be ever so. And I believe it can be so. Taking out the spiritual. Nothing thought, nothing occurring about spiritual things. Okay, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. What wickedness. What wickedness. Christ was dealt with in the great hall of judgment. But that great hall of judgment will come around in its fullness to these people in the last day. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for testimony against them and the Gentiles. And this is where we come back again to the whole thing about these people that do the persecution in the times that God has set for the ultimate punishment of those who are bringing about the persecution. And this is a very important point. Let me read it again. And ye shall be brought before governors. The hierarchy, the governors. Not the common folk. And kings. These are the persons that are supposed to be ruling for the good of society, for individuals of society, for the betterment of society, for upholding the good of society, for a peaceful society. But what are they doing? What are they doing? They're persecuting those who are telling the truth. Because there is no truth in these kings and governors. And what is more, they're ravening wolves. Ravening wolves. Councils. Into their synagogues. Everybody's in on it. The Jews were in on it. The Romans were in on it. In the persecution of the saints. And the head of the church, Jesus Christ. Oh, they came together. They were enemies. This Jewry was the enemy of Rome, and Rome was the enemy of the Jews. Implacable enemies. So what joined them together? Come on, what joined them together? These two implacable enemies. What joined Ian Paisley to Martin McGuinness? We come back to the spiritual. Oh, the outward was laid to one side. But they were agreed in spirit because they belonged to the same kingdom, the kingdom of the devil. They shared that kingdom. In that kingdom there is chaos and confusion and all and every evil work. Everybody's at each other's throats in that kingdom. But there came a time when they agreed. And they agreed amongst themselves. Because they were so in hatred of the truth. When they saw the enemy, their enemy, they gathered themselves together. They came together. Let us come together. Because we have a purpose, a shared purpose. There is Christ. let us attack him. They are his followers, let us attack him. And of course, when they're not attacking Christ, they're not attacking their disciples, his followers, they're attacking one another. And indeed, within their own little joining themselves together against the Lord and his anointed, they're at each one another's throats. That's what wickedness does. All these hierarchy, wickedness in high places, principalities and powers, total wickedness. And ye shall be before governors and kings for my sake, for testimony against them. Because it was their time. Okay? It was the time of all these people against the ministers of Judaism and the secular kings and governors, even the governors, the Sanhedrin of Judaism, of Jewry, Israel. It was all against these people. They'd already attacked Christ. Now they would set about his people. Judgment had already come upon them to the utmost. But now these persons would be added to for their judgment. Let me say this. We should not be despondent, although it does afflict us. And then we have to say to ourselves, if not verbally, that when we've been wronged, that it is for a purpose. Let me explain this. We're going through life, okay? Everything is fine. We're still learning. The scriptures, the interpretation of scriptures, how to apply the scriptures in our daily lives on each daily basis, little by little, line upon line and so forth. And we're looking out to this world and we're viewing it and we're examining it as we examine the scriptures. Alright. Then there comes something across our path. We have to deal with it. Something that is completely wrong. Somebody has done us wrong. And for a time we have to deal with it. Now, why has that occurred? Have you ever thought as to why that should occur? I'll tell you why it occurs. It's because God would have that person or that organisation to come across your path. If that is, you understand this, comes across your path to answer that person or organisation for their ultimate condemnation. You may lose, say, the argument. Let's say you go to court, okay, and you get a bent judge. Bent as a 9-bob note. Hey? A right banana sitting there. And they deliberately give misjudgment. Judgment against you, benefit for the defendant. Never get disheartened. It will dishearten you, because that's natural. What I'm saying is, once that disheartenment comes in, the lowering of the spirit, thinking of, this is all wrong and nobody can deal with it. Think about this. That judge has been brought into your presence, and that defendant has been brought into your presence. Your presence. Because God has brought them into your presence for their judgment. That is exactly what's being said here. It's not a coincidence, it's not an error. They've been brought before you. For the ultimate sentence against them. And you can walk away and you can be assured that in the process of time they shall be dealt with, and that there is no more to be said for these people than that which has been said on that day that they have done the wrong. I can assure you of that. The scriptures tell us that. They're brought to us, you and me, for judgment. Ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my name's sake, for testimony against them. In that testimony, there is their judgment. And they shall be judged. Keep your eyes open. For the testimony against them and the Gentiles. Those Gentiles that have joined. It's not all the Gentiles, not the world over. The Gentiles that have joined to these people. Have suckered up to these people. Let us not be ignorant. Let us not be secular. Let us be sacred. Let us